Greetings to you wherever you are watching me from, and I trust you are doing great. And I welcome you back to my YouTube channel. And if you're here for the very first time, I wholeheartedly welcome you to my YouTube channel. As usual, my name is Oluwakemi Osege, and I'm always excited to share with you behind the scenes recordings of my beautiful or delicious, beautiful creations. Anyways, before I proceed, are you subscribed to my YouTube channel yet? If you have not done so, please do so. Subscribe to my channel and please click that notification bell. That will alert you anytime I upload a new video. And committing to actually uploading videos every week. So please do subscribe and do not forget to like. I'd actually like to see as many people watch this recording like it. I will really appreciate it. It's a simple action. So please do like my video if you happen to come across it and watch it. And I'd also appreciate you share on your social media platforms to your friends and family that might find it helpful and useful. And please do leave me a comment. I'd love to read your thoughts. I'd love to read from you. Thank you. Thank you. I so appreciate this community. Thank you so much. Now back to the video. Again, this is the third part of the behind the scenes recording of the creation of this number 30 cake. As you saw, it's a series of how I create my numbers cake using the number 30 as a case, or should I say cake study. So if you haven't done so already, I've got 2 earlier recordings on this channel. Please check it out, the part 1 and part 2, which showcase the preceding processes. This process is mainly concentrated on the covering of the cakes with fondant. So as you saw earlier, I started with the number 0. I rolled out a long strip of fondant. That is after I had measured out the height of my cake and gauged the length. My cake is 4 inches tall in height, both of my cakes, and so I gauged the length. That's the length of the zero, the hole in the 0. So, and then roll that long strip and rolled it on my small rolling pin to allow me to easily lift it up and place it inside that 0. And of course, you saw I applied a light shade of water and then rolled my fondant into that hole, and then used my hand to smoothen it out. And of course, I also use this tool, which is flexi smoother. It's a silicone flexi smoother which is able to get into corners. So I was able to get it into the corner of that hole and then smooth out my fondant inside that hole. I then proceeded to rolling out a large piece of fondant that is big enough to cover this entire circumference of my 0. So I'm using the drape over method for this purpose. So to cover the entire cake with a large piece of fondant, which I'm doing now. I first of all began with smoothing out that with my hands, and then proceeded with using my tools. And as you can see, I've now I covered the hole when I was draping over the large piece of fondant on my cake. So I've now cut out that excess fondant in that hole to reveal the hole, and proceeding to smoothing the edges out to try and give me a more smoother edge finish. So again, using my tools as best as I can to get my cake to a smoother finish as I can get it, using my craft knife, my plastic smoothers, and of course my flexi smoother. So my flexi smoother was actually very effective for this purpose, as it allows me to bend it, as you can see, around the corners of my 0 to get rid of excess fondant, using my straight plastic scraper and also my paring knife to cut out the excess fondant. So what I'm simply doing here is again using all these tools I mentioned to give my cake a more refined finish as best as I can get it. Yes, and then I used my pizza cutter again to get rid of the excess fondant around the base of my cake, as you're going to see shortly. So yes, as you're seeing, I'm just simply getting rid of excess fondant, giving my cake a smoother finish, or my number zero a smooth finish, and then trying my best to get to the result I desire. Yeah, that's me getting rid of the excess fondant around the base of my cake. And yes, simply get rid of excess bubbles as well. So any visible bubble, air bubble I can see, using my pin, using my spatula to smooth out any bulges. And then that's the completed covered fondant. I mean number zero. I hope it's at this stage I was hoping that it was as smooth as I could get it. Anyway, I've then now proceeded to covering the number three. The same process, rolling a large strip of fondant that's long enough to go into the corners of my three, and of course in height at least 4 inches. So I've used my ruler to achieve this goal to ensure that my fondant strip height is at least 4 inches in measurement, and of course gauge the length and ensure that it is long enough to go into the corners of my number three. I've then proceeded to rolling that onto my small rolling pin. As I stated earlier, this is to help me lift it up to place into those corners to enable me cover. So I've then proceeded to apply a light shade of water or coat of water around the corners I want the fondant to go in. So it is important that I do not put too much water, because too much water with fondant is not good. Too much water will eat into your fondant and damage it. And then this happened. My cake broke. Oh my goodness. At this point, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know whether I was angry. I didn't know whether I was upset. I didn't know. In fact, I was every emotion you can think of, save for being excited or happy. So I didn't know what to do at this point. I just the thing that came to my mind was just to apply ganache onto that area that broke. I didn't know whether it was the right thing to do. Please let me know if it's the right thing to do or if it's not. I don't know whether it was the right thing, but that was the thing that came to my mind at that time, because I didn't know. I was so anxious, and I didn't have enough time at my disposal before the cake is picked up for me to be able to leave the cake to allow it to set for a while. So I just applied ganache and then continued decorating. Oh, this cake, or number three cake, numbers cake are always challenging anyway, because of especially the ones that have corners, for you to accentuate those corners. So they're always very challenging. So it was so challenging. It was a very long process for usually a long process again, and then that happened. It added to the timing. Anyway, I proceeded anyway. I did my best to put it to the best possible shape I can, and then proceeded with decorating. So again, I've now did as I did with the zero. I proceeded covering the number three by rolling out a large piece of fondant big enough to cover the entire circumference of my cake, getting rid of any visible bubble I can see, and of course smoothing it out as best as I can, and then picked it up with my rolling pin and draped it over my number three, covering those corners. Yes, before doing that though, I applied water onto my ganache covered cake. Again, this is to serve as an adhesive for my fondant to sit on. Not too much water, just a light touch of water, because too much water with fondant, it's a very bad news. It will damage your fondant. As you can see, I've draped it over now. My fondant. First of all, I'm using my hand to smooth out the fondant around my number three to get into the corners and accentuate it as best as I can. First of all, using my hand before I go in with my tools. So yes, that's what I'm doing. And then I've now gone in with my tools using my straight spatula to smooth out the sides and the top of my cake, and then proceeding now to using my craft knife to cut out the dips in the number 3, to reveal the dips in number 3. That's cutting out the fondant, the excess fondant, to reveal the dips in the number 3. And then proceeding as well, continuing with the cutting of the excess fondant, using my carving knife or my craft knife and my spatula as best as I can to assist me to achieve the goal. I then proceeded with using my pizza cutter to get rid of the excess fondant around the base of my number 3 cake, and continuing as well, as you can see, with the smoothing with the smooth finishing process, using my pin to get rid of any visible air bubbles, and using my tools, my offset, my smooth scraper and my flexi smoother to give the corners of my 3 a more refined, visible, sharp corners as best as I can get it in the circumstances. I'm trying to be as careful as I can, in order not to in order not to increase the damage already done to that cake. So using my paring knife to get rid of any excess fondant around the edges of my cake, and also proceeded then to the base of my cake to get rid of excess fondant, using my flexi smoother to smooth out the surfaces, and my silicone flexi smoother to smooth out the corners. So yes, that's my number 3 covering almost done. What I'm doing, as you can see, just apply a smooth finish. It looks okay. And that's a complete number 3 covered in fondant, in spite of the damage and the anxiety. So I've then proceeded to placing my cakes onto their cake drum. This cake, both of them actually, although I decorated them separately on their separate cake drums, I eventually now placed them together on one cake drum that is a 20 inches square cake drum, and that's my fully covered number 3 and 0 cakes, looking so lush there in spite of all the challenge I encountered in the process. Anyway, I didn't show you how I placed those cakes on the cake drums, which I had already previously covered in fondant and left to harden before doing this. So it was another challenge as well. Those cakes are actually very large, so I struggled actually to place both of them to sit together on that cake drum. As you can see, there's barely any space on the sides, so they were very large cakes, and the cake was so heavy to carry as well, so the very, very large cakes. And then I've now proceeded to decorating the number 30. So what I'm doing now is piping buttercream on top of the 3, using the star tip. I think it's a star tip. Yeah, the star tip. And then yes, that's it. Cake fully decorated now with meringue, with artificial flowers, and then silver covered what's it called again, macarons. Yes. Yes, I hope you like the recording. I hope you like the video. Again, as I said, don't forget to leave me a thumbs up, leave me a comment. I love to read your thoughts, and please don't forget to subscribe and share and hit the notification bell. Thank you for watching. This is the final part of it, and I'll see you in my next recording. Take care for now. Bye.